Hello, Put Me in Coaching family. Welcome to tonight's call. We are August 10th, sailing right along through August, but we're going to talk about breaking bad habits. We talk so much about creating the good ones that we haven't touched on how to break the bad habits in a while. So I thought this was a good lesson as I just finished reading Atomic Habits again, and it comes up on how do we not only create the good habits, but how do we break the bad habits? And so there's a lot of things that go around that. I took a lot of notes, so I want to go over that with you because we've heard so many things like it takes 21 days to create a good habit. The book says it takes 66 days to create a habit. But if you really think about it, behavior change, which is our fifth step in the 7-step signature system, right? So behavior change, behavior modification, it can really come depending on how much repetition happens. Okay, so 66 days of doing something one time, yes, that creates that habit. But if you're doing something over and over and over again, it becomes easier over time. And so the good news about that is behavior change comes quickly the more often we do it, right? So if we create a repetition of making good choices and making things attainable, that 66 days can kind of be cut down a little bit because you're making that choice over and over again. And the more often we do something, the more likely we are to do it again. That's one of the principles of behavior. So the more often past behaviors predict future behaviors, we've talked about that. So the more often something has occurred in the past, you can predict that it will happen again. So when you think in terms of like going to the gym and things like that, well, of course, you're only going to do those once a day, maybe sometimes twice a day. But for the most part, you're only going to do something like that once a day. And so, yes, it does take a little bit longer to create that habit. But just think about how quickly we fall out of good habits and allow our quote unquote bad habits to take back over. And it's because we allow those things to happen repetitiously, right? So we're not, making one bad decision, or I say bad decision, but one decision that's off plan. And then all of a sudden we're now making every other choice back on plan, right? It's that snowball effect. And so the bad habits kind of take over a little bit more quickly. And that's why, right? But why is that? Okay, so you have to really think about, why are you wanting to create new habits? Why are you wanting to break the bad habits, and why are you wanting to create the good habits? Okay, so if the pain of something is bad enough, you're going to change, right? That was my original why. I didn't like the numbers of the blood work that was coming back in my doctor's visits. I was 28 or 9 years old, and I just simply didn't like what I saw. And so the pain of potentially running into a serious health issue caused by my poor choices was very real. It was looking me right in the eye. And so the pain of that was strong enough to force me to change. Okay. Well, guess what? I can't use that why anymore because, one, I've had a serious health condition since then, totally unrelated. And because I was healthy, I got through it, right? Had I not been as healthy as I was, the chances are I might not have made it through. Okay. And so that's the scary reality. But now my numbers are good. And so I can't use that same why because it's just simply not strong enough. The pain of it is not strong enough because it's not real. It's not staring me in the face. So I have to figure out some other why, okay? If I want to change something, right? And so same goes for everyone. But if the excitement is enough, on the flip side, right? If the excitement is enough, you'll change too. think about, and that's why external motivation sometimes is very powerful, because especially in the short term, because we think about an event we have coming up. So we're super excited about it and we're like, we're going to change. I'm going to do this. I got to get okay for this. Right? And so that's why the excitement, you're going to change. Okay? So maybe flip that script, and it's the excitement of not having to feel bad, the excitement of, being proud of yourself for accomplishing a goal. What does that look like? Sorry, I'm yawning. The weather is horrible here. It's pouring down rain. So if we get cut off, it's because my internet cuts off, but I'll be back. So again, anything we do repetitiously can become a habit. That's why it's so scary we can't have a bad habit without having a good habit to replace it. Okay. So we talk so much about creating the good habits, right? What do we have to do? We have to make it obvious. We have to make it attractive. We have to make it easy, and we have to make it satisfying. Okay. That's a good habit. Okay. Have to make it obvious. What's the goal? Lay it out. Not just, I want to do better, but be specific. Make it obvious. Make it attractive, right? Why do you want this? So you have to have that reason why you want to create this good habit. Make it easy, right? So break it down into steps. How are you going to achieve this habit? That's that 7-step signature system. You got to make it trackable. You've got to have that accountability. So you've got to make it easy. It doesn't mean that it's easy to do. It just means that it's easy to, you're setting yourself up for success. So your meals are prepped if you like to meal prep, or you have a go-to menu item at a restaurant. So you don't even have to look at the menu when you go. You already know what you're ordering, right? You have a plan. That's how we make things easy. We have a plan, because remember, failing to prepare is preparing to fail, right? Is that how it goes? I think that's how it goes. But if we're not, the point of that is, if we are not planning out what we want and what our goals are, it's not easy, because then you're having to think on the fly. And what are you naturally going to resort back to? Your old habits. And guess what? Your old habits got you to where you were, right? So you have to make it easy. That's why I say plan the day ahead the night before, right? I've sat down, I've figured out, okay, here's all the places. I have a lunch meeting tomorrow. I've already looked at the menu. I know what I'm going to order, so I don't even have to think about it. I'm not going to look when I get there, right? I'm making it easy on myself. And then make it satisfying. What's the reward? What are you going to get out of it? You can reward yourself with maybe some new clothes or a trip. My parents went on their European motorcycle trip when my dad hit his 200-pound weight loss goal. That was huge, right? That's a great goal. That makes it satisfying. It also makes it attractive too, right? It's like, hey, this is what I'm working toward, right? So it was an external goal, but it still made things satisfying. It was a reward. So when we're breaking those bad habits, how do we do it? We have to do exactly the opposite of what we're trying to do with good habits. We have to make it invisible. Okay. So you have to make whatever's holding you back, you have to make it invisible. Figure out, what is it that's holding you back? Maybe it's snacks in the house. Make them go away. Make them invisible to you. Okay. Maybe it's, I don't know, maybe you have a bad habit of staying up too late, right? Make it invisible. Go to bed earlier. Just stop. Make it invisible. Make it unattractive. What happens if this happens, right? So make it unattractive. Okay, where are you going to be? What's the pain point if you continue this bad habit? right? That makes it unattractive because there's a reason you want to change. What's that reason? Okay, so make it unattractive. Make it difficult. So maybe you have a bad habit of hitting snooze, and we've all heard this one: move the alarm across the room so that you can't hit snooze anymore. Okay, I used to have a really bad habit of hitting snooze. So now I'm 50-50 on whether I'm going to hit the snooze button or not. And that's okay. I understand that. And so I set my alarm earlier than I need it to be so that I've built in, right? I've made it difficult to not make something happen because I've created what I need to create. And that works for me, right? And then make it unsatisfying. What happens if you don't do X, Y, and Z, or if you do X, Y, and Z, if it's a negative behavior, right? So what happens? Make it unsatisfying, right? Maybe you have to, I don't know. There are many ways you can make things unsatisfying, right? Get with your accountability partner, get with somebody who is helping you, right? And supporting you, and say, maybe I don't get to pick where we go for dinner that week, or maybe I don't get to pick the movie that we watch, or, depending on, you have to make it sizable to the goal, right? So, and the goal doesn't need to be something that is, so instead of saying I'm going to lose 5 pounds this week, and if you don't hit that, you have to do something unsatisfying. We have to be realistic, right? Because things happen. But what we can't control the outcome of our efforts. Remember that. That's a whole thing, right? We can't control the outcome, but we can control our efforts. And so you have to break that down to, okay, I'm going to follow the plan 85 to 90% of the time. Okay. I'm going to eat foods that are on the plan. And that other little bit, I can go off track, but I'm going to plan those. So then it still is part of the plan. Okay. So you're measuring that, you're tracking that. Okay. So when you don't stick to that, what's something that's unsatisfying? But here's the thing: when we talk about consequences, expectations, and consequences, all we're doing is setting expectations with ourselves. Okay. And I train this when I train behavior. You have to be willing to follow through with the consequence if you're going to set the expectation. If you are not willing to follow through with the consequence, then your excitement isn't enough about what it is you're trying to accomplish, or the pain of something is not enough for you to do what you need to do. I want you to let that sink in. Okay. So if you're not hitting your goals and you are not willing to hold yourself accountable, and you're not willing to follow through with the consequence that you set for yourself, either your excitement is not enough about the goal that you're trying to accomplish, or the pain of changing whatever it is you're trying to change is not enough. And so you have to go back and get really clear on what your why is. Okay. And so then we get to a place of what we call forced momentum. Okay. And this is where you have to actually take action. Okay. Remember the last time you accomplished a goal that you wanted to accomplish. What did you have to do to accomplish that goal? You didn't just sit back and all of a sudden the goal was there. You had to do certain things. You probably had to opt in. You probably had to educate yourself on it. You had to hold yourself accountable for reaching that goal. You had to track your progress. You had to modify your behaviors because if it was a goal of yours to get there, you had to change something or else you would have already been there. So you had to change your behaviors, right? You may not have had to do the last two, celebrate your wins and give back, but you see, it's that 7-step signature system. It's everywhere. It can be applied to anything. So when you're thinking about that, think about the last time you achieved a health goal that you were really proud of yourself for. What did you have to do to get there? And what's different now? Or maybe you're just on track and you just have to keep the momentum going, right? Keep doing what you're doing. But where do you have to go and what do you have to do to get to where you need to be? Right? Maybe it's losing the idea that, oh my gosh, I can't think about it because it's too expensive, or I can't think about it because it's just XYZ, right? There's so many excuses, right? And I have that coaster in my house. I need to move it to my office desk because I spend more time in here than anywhere now in my house. But it says you can make excuses or you can make progress, right? But you can't do both. I was at a leadership training yesterday and the speaker had flown in that morning from the West Coast, right? So I think his flight had left at like, I don't even remember, right? It left super late the night before, and then it was an overnight flight from LA to Florida. So he got there at like 6:00 yesterday morning. And so obviously he was really tired because he hadn't been to sleep hardly. And he was explaining that. And he said, now I can make excuses, right? But I'm the one that chose those flight times. I'm the one that booked that flight. I could have easily flown in yesterday, but I chose not to because he had something he wanted to do at home, right? But those were choices. And so the pain of being super tired that day wasn't enough, right? It might be in the future. He might remember how tired he was and he might not do that again. But that's where we have to get, right? We have to understand that it has to be so painful to stay in the position that we're in that we're willing to change, or we have to be so excited about the change that we're wanting to make that it makes us create that forced momentum. And momentum is different than motivation. Momentum is those habits. Okay. Momentum creates the habits. All right. So think about the habits you need to break and then think of what you're going to do to replace those habits. Behavior modification, step 5. Okay. So maybe it's you need to start eating on plan. Okay. So we have to make it obvious. All right. We have to have that goal. We have to make it obvious. We're going to eat on plan 90% of the time. So if we're eating 4 meals a day, that's 28 meals times 90%. That's 26 meals on plan. 26 meals have to be on plan. Okay. So you break it down like that. So that means if you're having 28 meals, and do the math, right? If it's 5 meals a day, that's 35. 90% of that is 32. Okay. So break it down like that. Make it obvious. So you know that 26 or 32 meals have to be on plan. Great. What 26 or 32 of those meals is going to be on plan, and which 2 or 3 are going to be off plan? Make it simple, right? Make it obvious. Now we have to make the bad habit invisible. Okay. So the bad habit is we fly by the seat of our pants on making decisions. So we're going to plan out, right? I just said what 3 meals or 2 or 3 meals are going to be off plan. So we've removed the barrier. We've made the bad habit invisible because we no longer have to make the decision at game time. Okay, so that's step one. But remember, there's 4 steps to each. The next is make it attractive. Okay, what is it that you like to eat that's on plan? Don't choose something that you don't like. All right. And then the bad stuff, you've got to make it unattractive. Maybe do a little bit of research on how that stuff makes you feel, right? Or let's say you just write out some things like when I eat off plan, I don't feel good, right? You're making it unattractive, right? You're just making it unattractive to want to do whatever it is you want to do, right? I don't feel well. I have made eating pizza unattractive to myself. How? By saying, and so my initial response when people are like, oh my gosh, I love pizza. What's your favorite kind? I'm like, I don't really like pizza. And they're like, what? And then I say, well, I mean, I guess I like it, but I don't like how it makes me feel. And I've trained my brain to say that. I didn't stop liking pizza, but I don't like the way I feel after it. It hurts my fingers. And I know that's a weird thing to say, but it does. It makes my fingers swell and I don't like it. Right? So I've made it unattractive. Does that mean I never eat pizza? No, I do from time to time, but I eat less of it. And I also typically pair it with a salad because I'm going to feel a little better. Okay. So I've made it unattractive. Then we're going to make the good habit easy that we're trying to create. And we're going to make the bad habit that we're trying to get rid of, we're going to make it difficult. All right. So simple fix to something that, okay, you're eating too many things that are off plan, don't have them in the house. Then you have to travel to go and get it or spend extra money on DoorDash or Instacart or whatever. Make it difficult. And on the flip side, make it easy. Have the good foods in the house, but even better, have that plan already drawn out. So maybe you've prepared the meals and they're just there so you can pop it in the microwave or whatever. If it's a cold thing, you just take it out of the fridge and eat it. Simple. Makes it easy. And it makes it more difficult to not. It's great. My mom is here right now, and so she cooks dinner. So it's made it a little bit easier for me while she's been here. It's been wonderful. Right? So then the last thing, make it satisfying. So what are you going to get out of it? What are you rewarding yourself with? And then on the flip side with the bad habit, make it unsatisfying. What happens if you do X, Y, and Z? And remember, if the pain of something is enough, you will change. If the excitement is enough, you will change. So make it satisfying, make it unsatisfying. Remind yourself of why you want to change. What is the pain? That's unsatisfying. The pain that you're still going to have to be in and day out. Right? But make it satisfying. I'm going to feel so much better. I'm going to be able to do the things that I want to do. I'm going to be able to wear the clothes I want to wear. Okay. So those are the things that we do to break those bad habits. And then creating that forced momentum. That forced momentum is the opt-in portion. You have to decide. You have to commit to it. You have to act. And then you've got to repeat, right? Remember, we cannot control the outcome of our efforts, but we can control our efforts. And that's all it is. This is a game of efforts. You get in, you get out what you put in. Okay. So at the end of the day, if you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, I gave it 100%, I gave all of my effort, that's a win. You can celebrate that. But if at the end of the day, you look in the mirror and you say, hey, listen, there are some things I could clean up a little bit. The best news ever is tomorrow's a new day. Plan your success the night before and then execute the next day. So you plan and then execute. And then you just repeat, right? Plan, execute, plan, execute. You're tracking that and you're just repeating. And that's how we control our efforts. And that snowballed effort creates those big time changes that we're wanting, right? It creates little changes day by day, but you add that up over a period of time and you're going to get big results. All right. So really think about what are the good habits you need to create, or just continue to do, and what are the bad habits you need to break. Okay. And then get very clear on it. And then get very clear of what the pain point is that you're trying to get rid of. And then maybe think of something exciting you're going to get to do once you reach that goal. All right. So I would love to hear the good habits that you're creating and the bad habits that you're breaking. You can drop them in the comments. You can shoot me a text message. I'd love to hear from you. So I will see you back here next Sunday, same time, same channel. And until then, I will see you in your coaching sessions or on text message. Have a fantastic week, everyone. Let's go create some good habits, right? Let's create the good habits by doing them repetitiously, and let's break those bad habits by not doing them repetitiously. Have a fantastic week. I'll see you back here, same time, same channel. Put us in, coach. We are ready to crush our goals. Have a great night, everybody.